So we have a few experts up here that we have. So I think this next section is going to be really interesting for everybody. I know we jumped into a few things there that might have been a little bit heavy after dinner, but we do have a panel here of experts that are going to help me through the night here as we go and talk on a few things. So why don't you guys just, I'll start with Russ, and each one of you just a real quick introduction, talk about what you do and a bit of your background. Start with Russ.
Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now?
No.
All right. Is my mic on, guys?
Oh.
Yeah, okay. How's that? What if I just talk a little bit?
Whoa.
Can everyone hear me now? What if I talk like that? Project from my diaphragm. I'm Russ Reimer. I work at a company. What's that, sorry? Use the handheld? Well, here, there we go. That felt good. Can you hear me? I feel like a Verizon ad. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I'm on it. This is this one. No, it's not this one. All right. Give it one more try. How's that? How's that?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing. It's on. Green light, right?
We'll just use the handheld. It's good.
I'm on.
Hey, can you get me? Is it working? Is it working? All right. I'm Russell Reimer. Now these mics are competing with each other. Why don't we start at the end? All right. No, you're at the end. All right. I'm Russell Reimer. I'm with Manifesto Sport Management. It's an athlete agency, and right here, based in Calgary, and I represent a lot of great Canadian athletes, and we have a lot of good times. You have a mic.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Ancor. I'm an active judoka from Montreal. I'm also the co-founder of MakeAChamp.com. We're a crowdfunding platform, and over the past 2 years, we've helped 1,000 athletes get a hold of $1 million in funding.
Is my mic working? Hello?
Use mine.
Hello? Is it working? No. I'm Carolyn Calvé. I'm from snowboarding, and I'm a plain old athlete. So I'm going to just talk about how I lived finding sponsors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think mine's working.
Well, all right.
Hey, everybody. No, it's not working. I'll speak with a strong voice. Sorry. Hey, everybody. My name is Antoine Meunier. I'm a canoe kayak athlete. Some of you may have heard of Sport Café, which is a media I launched with Etienne Morneau over there 3 years ago. More recently, I co-founded a company called Medalist. It's a website builder for athletes, and the main reason why I'm kind of sitting here. Our platform lets athletes build amazing website in 5 minutes. Up to you.
Yeah, I'll teach you guys how to use these in a second. My name's Ryan Blais. I'm a retired athlete from freestyle skiing aerials. A few times I've been here in the past speaking about social media and web stuff. Actually, I've been on a panel with you before. That was pretty cool. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about creating legacies and sort of the philanthropic side, I guess the athlete responsibility side of sport. I have a lot of experience in there as well, and it's good fun stuff.
So we have a lot of talent up here. We've got about an hour to get through a lot of stuff, some interesting stuff. But first, one of the things I wanted to touch base on is one of the items that we created last year. How many people are new, like new athletes reps this year? Put your hands up. Okay. So let me ask you a question. How many of you, and this is everybody, how many of you know what bylaws are? Yeah. How many of you know what a council is? How many of you know how to create a council? Not too many. How many of you know what a board is? How many of you know how to create a board? Not too many. So how many of you know what an AGM is? Okay. Okay. So a lot of these things are expectations of athletes reps to know as you become an athletes rep. And I think over the years with through Athletes Can, we didn't have a way to effectively teach this, because the problem is, well, who knows what an NSO is? Yeah. The NSOs weren't teaching you, National Sport Organization, if you didn't know, weren't teaching the athletes reps how to really be athletes reps. And the problem is with Athletes Can, is we can't necessarily get in contact with every single athlete like you guys being here. So what we did was we created an athlete leadership handbook, and we launched this last year. And one of the things was it was an interactive handbook. So instead of going through and having to read everything, what we did was we made these videos where you could sit down and understand how to create a board or how a board runs. So when you sat at the board level, what that means for you as a role and how you play in that kind of thing. So Josh, can you just flip that page? So as you can see, it just flips, and as we can go through it more and more, the idea is that there's videos that are there. But just so you know, if you could just go back one there, Josh. Just hit the back arrow. Yeah. That's fine. So we lost internet. So the one key thing with this is you do have to be on the internet, but the great thing is you can read it on your iPad, you can read it on your iPhone. Some of you have already seen this. The one thing that I suggest, and we'll give you the link to this is right on the Athletes Can homepage. You can click on it, and there's a link with it, and you can share it with all your athletes. This is something that I really, really highly recommend you guys, after leaving this weekend, is have this link. We'll have it with the new sponsorship handbook also. It'll be athletscan/handbooks, and send it out to your athletes. You know, there's content in here that covers everything so you can understand the sports landscape. That's the big important thing, because so many times people have questions. They don't know how to necessarily, oh, and it's got, you know, catchy music, sound like that. So as you can just see, it has, it plays the videos right in there. Can you just go back one, Josh? No pressure. Oh, there's our Eric Peterson that couldn't be here right now. So as you can see through the contents, it's Sports System 101, just understanding the basics of, you know, Sport Canada, understanding where funding comes from, understanding how NSOs get funding, understanding what MSO is, you know, some basic stuff, athlete leadership and representation, how you become great athletes reps, you know, and there's tons of great speakers in there that talk to you about that, and then athletes on boards. So when you guys who are new athletes reps, or even people that are you know, current athletes reps, you know, sometimes they don't know the process of what it means to be on a board. And you know, this is a great avenue. You know, it's easy, it's all videos, and then if you want more information, there's tons of links that you can go to. So the thing that we created this year to add to this piece was a sponsorship handbook, because a lot of times new athletes in the system don't necessarily know how to find sponsors. And so one of the things that we created, and this is just in PDF form right now, we're finalizing it for you guys, and we're going to have it in a flip format over the weekend so you guys can take a look at it. We've shot a ton of videos with a number of the people on the stage right now and some other people, from agents to athletes and sponsors themselves, asking them these questions to give some feedback. And the things that we're talking about is just understanding sponsorship. You know, so many people nowadays just think sponsorship's this patch on your shorts, and that's how you spell sponsorship. But it's not. It has nothing to do with that anymore. The landscape's completely changed, and I'm sure these guys will talk to you about that today. But we want you to kind of go through here, have a look at it, and if there's things that aren't in here or stuff that you really want to know about, let us know, because we'll put it in here and then we'll finalize it and obviously send it out to you guys. But I think this is another key thing as an athlete's rep, is getting this information out to, you know, the athletes that you guys represent, because it's good information. It's coming from people that are experts in this area. Okay? So one of the things that we were going to talk about today, obviously in this section, is sponsorship. And Andrew Greenlaw, who's the sponsorship marketing director for CIBC, we did a video with him, and he just spoke about what sponsorship is.
Yeah, back in, I guess, not too long ago, a couple of years, it was all about athletes and even properties selling access to a logo and to a right and to a name and intellectual property. And now things have grown, and athletes and even event properties have to get a lot more creative. And it's more about storytelling, and it's more about unique experiences that athletes can offer to, for example, our clients. It's about, again, you know, athletes being able to help promote our message and our brand in a really meaningful way amongst a really cluttered space of brands. Sport is the one thing in this world that really connects and unites people and unites them around a common passion. And athletes are at the heart of that passion. They're the ones that are competing. They're the ones that Canadians tune in to watch. They're the ones that we rally behind and celebrate with our Canadian flag. And you know, CIBC is a proud Canadian company. We're proud of our Canadian athletes. We're proud every time someone waves our flag, whether it's domestically or internationally. And for our brand to be able to align with something like that, you know, not only makes our employees passionate, but it makes our clients passionate. So it's become really important and as part of our overall strategy. CIBC is looking for athletes that really will represent our brand well and will be a great fit for our culture and what we stand for. And I think that's true for all partners. I mean, other corporations are looking for their own fit, and it's not necessarily about world records and gold medals. It's really about who can portray their brand in a way that they're comfortable in. You know, in a way, frankly, that a commercial spot or a paid advertising can't do. And I think that's the unique thing that athletes bring, is they bring a real emotion, and they bring it in a number of different facets. And for a partner, that's really exciting.
So one of the things that Andrew talked about there is the story, and I think you know, Russ, and you can touch base on this. I think this is one of the big things that's coming out for athletes, is understanding how to tell your own unique story. So maybe Russ, you can fill us on a little bit about this.
I'm going to need your mic. Yeah, I mean, Andrew makes I think the best and most relevant point about sponsorship today. I mean, all of us are in a position as young athletes, and we see a lot of athletes who we just help out from an agency side and others that we represent, who are looking for opportunity to create something special, not just for within their sport, but make a real community impact. I think the best thing about Story is that we have a lot of trailblazers in Canada who have combined the best elements of storytelling with results. And I mean, you just have to look around the room here at basically everyone who's on the wall in the Hall of Fame, and you have to ask yourself a really big question if you want to craft a really big story. Can I envision the biggest possible future for myself? One that is bigger than sport, one that extends beyond sport, and can I explore human potential beyond simply creating results on the field of play? If you begin with that premise, it opens your mind up to the possibility of creating something that is Clara Hughes-like, you know, where we're not just inspired by what someone was able to do and getting to the top of a podium, but we're inspired by who they are, not just what they've accomplished. I think as Canadian athletes, we take this on probably more than any other country. I mean, we have millionaire hockey players. God bless them. There are not a lot of them doing that great work in the community. There's a few golf charities here and there. And what I say pound for pound is that the athletes in this room can make a substantially greater difference for Canadians every day than the NHL guys. So what I want to do is challenge you first to envision the biggest possible future that you can. That's the first thing. The second thing about Story is that you want to begin to look at your career from the very beginning of your career, and you want to encourage young athletes that you're mentors and leaders of to really think about sport and the human potential of sport, and not just the results that you can potentially create on the field of play. A lot of times what happens, especially when you're 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, and you have a breakthrough, you think that everything is going to just fall into place now. Sponsors will line up for you, and the world will be yours. And I mean, the amount of work and effort that goes into creating a multiplier from a result is incredible. What I encourage my clients to do and young athletes to do is to actually begin planting the seeds for all of that personal growth and that character development and that story development from a very young age before you get a result. What we found from a sponsorship perspective is that the market responds to story. So if you have a good story, a great character, and you have the ability to tell it really well and convincingly with real meaning, passion. I mean, none of the people in this room lack any of those things. So plant the seeds for your story development from the beginning. Then when you have your result, when you create that moment for yourself, whether it's at the World Championships, the Olympics, at a World Cup, wherever that result comes, you have the ability to amplify. It's what I call a multiplier. And Greenlaw said it best. He's one of the top sponsorship professionals on the buying side in all of Canada, and he's talking about meaningful engagement. The last thing I want to share just before I hand it back to Ahren is that storytelling takes real craft. It isn't something that a lot of people are super inclined to do and can suddenly just command the presence of an entire room. So you have to begin at home. You have to start talking to your parents about what your story is. You have to understand conceptually what your big ideas are for the biggest possible life that you can imagine. If you begin with that premise and you begin starting to think really conscientiously about the big idea behind why you compete in the sport that you compete, what type of massive impact you could make on this country when you're successful, those things will become more and more real every time you share them. So start at home, talk to your folks, talk to your grandma. She's probably the best audience you'll ever see. How many people did the Kids' Day yesterday? Or earlier today? Earlier today. Kids are also a beautiful audience. They're mostly just excited to see you and realize that any dreams that they potentially have can be as real as you've made them. All right.
Thank you, buddy. Just touching base on that real quick, 2 minutes. Do you have a story of an athlete that has a great story? It doesn't need to be a gold medal winner. Just somebody that has created a story and built from what you were talking about.
Yeah, maybe I'll give 2 examples. How many of you guys know Mark McMorris? Does that name ring any bells? Okay. So Mark's from Regina. Most pro snowboarders are not from Saskatchewan. So there's a story, right? And what we did with Mark was we took a little bit of a different approach through a documentary. Did anyone see the documentary that we did for Mark during the Olympics? Making Your Mark, the snowboard. Okay. If you haven't seen it, it's available on iTunes. Just that was a shameless. You're welcome. Yeah. The money goes to Mark. I mean, God bless him. What we tried to do is tell what we thought was the most uncommon story of the games. This kid who had risen to snowboard prominence coming from the flattest region in all the U.S. What we did, though, early was we planted the seeds as a multiplier so that by the time Mark got to the Olympic Games, there was enough familiarity with his story, his then rivalry with Shaun White, and the story had created so much demand that we decided to produce this documentary. I want to give one quick more story. Whose favorite moment of the Olympics was Gilmore Jr., Denny Morrison? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, share your sentiment. And I think they were the runaway winners on the CBC poll of who should be the flag bearer. And it's because that story touched Canadians more than, I mean, even the women's hockey gold final or the men winning. I think the beauty of the Olympic movement and why all of you, I mean, are probably so passionate about your sport is that Gilmore did not achieve a result. He didn't create that moment for himself. He didn't have the chance to stand on a podium like Denny did. But the reason we love that story so much and the reason why it's such an important illustration for us is that the work that Gilmore did going into the games in character development, and when you hear him tell his story about, I mean, there's a funny story where he says, how many people have that dad where you have to wake up every morning at 6 a.m., pack your own breakfast, do the laundry, get your brothers and sisters out the hall, and then go to school? A bunch of people raised their hand, and he says, that was my mom. He had all of this built into him, and this is the same type of stuff that you guys are made of, right? He didn't even create a result at the Olympic Games, but he knew enough to set aside personal ambition to create something great for a teammate, right? That to me was touching. I mean, I even get teary thinking about it. So, I mean, those are 2 stories that I think help drive home that when you have a moment, all the work that you've put into it in advance is what creates the multiplier for you.
Well said. We had a chance to talk with Perdita also, our hurdles. I'm sure most of you guys know her. She's now in media. So we had a chance to talk to her about what's unique for athletes and trying to find your angle as an athlete.
You know, how it works with media is we usually pick someone that we want to focus on. It could be they have a super interesting story. It could simply be a look. It could be they've had a fascinating way of getting into their sport, or they're overcoming something. That's what we like. We like that kind of, we call it the angle. So you have to decide for yourself, what's my angle? And before, I never used to get it. Well, why is that person chosen? Why is that person in the newspaper? It's because there's so many it factors that just align where that person is the person that media wants to focus on. So you have to do certain things strategically to be that person that the media picks up on. But what exactly are those things?
And so one of the other things is how you get across, right? And we talked to Antoine a little bit about about websites and online branding. No.
All right, now it's working. So yeah, I mean, your story is everything. Now you need a support system to kind of carry that through. And usually the web is a pretty good way to reach thousands of people, millions of people, your mom, my dad, all these people. And the best way to do it is what we call a website. But really, websites are not what they used to be 5 or even 3 years ago. Like, it's not that blog that you have to write what you ate this morning every 2 weeks, because every 2 weeks is the frequency at which you have to do it. That's not what websites are anymore. Your website now is your online foundation. It's like the foundation to your online brand. That's where you set up who you are, what you do, and basically, it's your best chance to make an impression. When people Google your name, whether they're watching you on TV, they're on their iPhone by the venue, they're going to be looking for who you are, what you do, why should I care? Because obviously, a lot of athletes are doing what we're doing, and we're trying all to stand out. And the idea here is to kind of, how can you convey your story in a very efficient way so that people that see you who have no idea who you are will get it? And that, of course, like, I mean, going back to what Russell said and to what everybody here will say, it's not easy. But having a strong platform that does that for you is definitely a good step forward. And for many reasons, it is probably your best way to take back ownership of everything you've been doing on the web. Like, I mean, I'm not going to play the ends game again, but like, everybody here is either on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's what we've told you you should be doing to grow your brand and get an audience and all that stuff. The idea, though, is you need to gain ownership of that brand. Because, like, as sad as it is, Twitter followers, if Twitter changed something and becomes like Facebook, for example, not everybody will see your tweets anymore. Or your tweets are part of your story. So how do you recollect that story to keep it together? Your website is that opportunity that you have. Obviously, like, I'm hugely biased here because I created a platform that does exactly that. But there are many ways you can build that website that will allow you to convey your brand and essentially not care about it anymore. I mean, not really. What I meant is build your website, forget it, and keep doing what you're doing. Because the other misconception that most of the athletes I've been speaking to is, I don't have time for a website, I don't know anything about the web, or I have an Instagram and I have 3,000 followers, why should I need a website for? The idea is to build that thing and to build it in a way that your website is there as a billboard or something, but it shouldn't be a burden. Like, it's not true that a website is something you can't do because you don't have the skills. There are plenty of platforms that allow you to do just that. And the key, I think, is to be able to create something that is not as it was before, and to look forward in a way that you want something that is not static. You want something that is yourself, that represents your brand, because again, it's your first chance to make an impression. And I guess that's enough. Actually, no, it's not enough. Sorry, I missed the part. Oh, are you? Because this is not staged at all, but he's got another question coming.
Talk about the platform that he's created for athletes, because he's done something very, very unique, and it's cool. So can you, a minute, just talk about what you've done?
Minute to win it.
Okay. So basically, better than that, all you guys here are here for the weekend. There's going to be amazing stuff going on. And basically, a partnership that we had, Medalist and AthleteScan, is to offer you guys the opportunity to come see me at any time this weekend. In 10 minutes, we'll have your website, .com, going on live. And obviously, that'd be amazing. And we got this, like, I guess, shameless plug again. But the sweet deal with you guys is it's till the end of the weekend. It's 50% off for all the new guys. And because we got a couple clients in the room, so Marie-Michel and all the other guys, the 50% apply to you as well. So you're not, it's not like those, you know, like the carrier kind of deals, like, oh, it's only for new customers. You guys are paying full price. So it's kind of the AthleteScan family kind of thing. Like, I really want you guys to have all the tools you need. And like, I mean, I build it, so of course I like it. But if you guys are ready to go online and have a solid brand with a website that will basically what Medalist does is a neat way to show your sponsor, show your result, tell your story, and of course bind all your social accounts with it in a way that, I mean, you build your website once, forget about it, and with all the stuff you do on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, which is amazing and the best thing you can be doing, it takes all that back together to really create value for people who come see you for the first time. So again, come see me this weekend, 10 minutes, we're set.
Awesome, thank you. Great. So to talk a little bit about sponsors and finding sponsors, why don't you fill us in on how you kind of found some sponsors and where you first started?
Yeah, I always really found it tough to find sponsors. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a great salesperson when I have to sell something else. But when it comes to me, it's so hard. Anyways, so years ago when I first came to Forum in 2006, I had this idea that we should, because I didn't know anything. I had just made the national team. I didn't know how to go about and find sponsors. So I had talked to Ashley and all the Athletes Camp people and said, you got to make a manual or something. So I'm super happy that it's actually happening now. Basically, you outlined a few things here and that I'm going to just look at to, okay. So we did this filming for this manual that you're going to see, and one thing that always came to mind is I envied those people that did a lot of fundraising and things like that, because a lot of the times it's a team that's behind that helps them fundraise, and I think that you have to find this team to help you. It's not something that you can do by yourself, especially when it comes down to fundraising and stuff like that. Sponsors is a little bit of the same, where a team really helps. And for me, I have parents that are very shy, and I have a lot of teammates that their parents help them a lot to find sponsors, and so for me, it was never an option. So it led me to eventually go seek out help of an agent, and that was wonderful for me because it really helped create my team. So yeah, so I know that we wanted to link with the agent, and that helped me a lot. I think that what you said, Russell, about finding a story is really important. Finding who you are through your sport and what you have to share with the sponsor, because I think that a sponsorship, I used to think when I started competing that I could just go and find people that wanted to just help me financially, and I realized through the years that you want to go and seek sponsorship and try and create a partnership, offer them something, and it's that story that you can offer them. It's that inspiration that you can offer the business, and inspire their clients, whether it's their clients or just their employees. And nowadays, when I think about a sponsorship deal, I think about what I can offer this company. It's really not how much money can I make through this. It's more like, if I do this event, what kind of event do you have throughout the year? Where could I be positioned? What could I participate in? And how can I talk to people? How can I share my story with these people? And I think that approach is a lot better than coming and just saying, I need money, right? Kind of makes sense, yeah. Thank you.
So we had a chance to sit down with Maria Nick in Montreal, and she talked to us a little bit about the role of an agent.
Le rôle de l'agent pour un athlète, c'est vraiment d'être le représentant de l'athlète. C'est des yeux et des oreilles dans le milieu des affaires, dans le milieu des médias aussi. Et ce qui est important de comprendre, c'est qu'un agent, en tout cas dans mon cas, comme agent, je ne vais pas nécessairement aller vers juste des médaillés ou des médaillés olympiques. La même chose s'applique pour un commanditaire. Ce qui est important pour moi, c'est la personnalité, parce qu'avec la personnalité, l'histoire, l'intérêt de l'athlète et le potentiel et la manière de se présenter, tout ça, moi, je sais que je vais être capable d'aller loin puis d'être capable de l'exploiter. C'est un peu négatif comme terminologie, mais c'est être capable de travailler avec la personne sous différents angles. Parce que l'athlète, une fois qu'il a performé, là, c'est notre champ d'intervention. Alors, le rôle d'un agent, c'est vraiment d'être capable de représenter et de proposer un athlète qui, à première vue, est peut-être pas le premier choisi pour une marque, mais qui a un grand fit avec cette entreprise-là. Alors, c'est arrivé à plusieurs reprises où bien des producteurs ou des recherchistes d'émissions ou des compagnies ont téléphoné au bureau pour avoir un médaille olympique. Peu importe, c'est une médaille olympique et c'était un peu, je ne veux pas dire un rôle d'éducation, mais c'est de leur faire connaître les athlètes qui sont peut-être justement moins connus, qui n'ont pas encore de médaille olympique, mais qui ont un fit parfait avec la marque. Alors, c'est un peu le rôle de l'agent d'amener les athlètes qui ont peut-être un peu moins de notoriété et de leur faire vivre des partenariats qui vont certainement les amener ailleurs.
Okay, so I'm going to put this, she just talked about the role of the agent, so I'm going to put this towards Russ. Why should athletes get an agent? And Caroline, maybe you can talk about why you got an agent.
Maybe I can do the when, and you can do the why?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, I mean, right now there's a lot of athletes in Canada who are in the same situation. You guys are among them. The reason why I encourage this group to envision the biggest possible future for themselves is that not only do I think you're more likely to achieve it if you do that, but you're more likely to understand what's most different about you along the way. That self-discovery, in the same way you surprise yourself in an event by winning it or getting your first podium, those types of things all seek to help you establish why you're doing this and more importantly, that you're actually good at it. An agent, I think, would get involved with someone who has a very good sense of self, who has a good track record of results, has the ability and interest in learning how to become a sponsorable athlete. And I say that because not all athletes are sponsorable. Not all athletes even try. The work that you guys have to do in advance in storytelling, in the things that Caroline, you talked about, what can I give you? Asking the type of questions when you're engaging with a partner that make you more sponsorable. A lot of times we get into a little bit of a cocoon and we think that our results, we cry about why I'm on top of the world right now, I'm doing so well, why aren't sponsors taking notice of me? It is so much more than that. It's that it's important that when you've got all of those things put together, that's when you would first consider reaching out to an agent. We field a lot of calls. I got a call from a mom of a 9-year-old half-pipe girl. Okay, I mean, there's no 9-year-old on the planet that requires an agent. Not a single one. So I mean, the when of this is very important. And I want you guys, if you're really good at your sport and you want to make a sincere effort of this, lay the groundwork first. Come to your agent and say, come to a potential agent and say, here's what I've done, my results, my character, my story, here's all the work that I've put into this. You'll talk a little bit later, Ryan, about philanthropy. Here's why I care. Here's the difference I want to make in the community. Here's the big future that I envision for myself. Will you be a part of it? That, if an agent heard that type of message from a young athlete, I think they'd probably consider them.
Yeah, and they start seeing what they can do with you. One of the reasons why I got an agent is a little bit like what you were referring to. I was getting the results. I was kind of getting to that point where I was thinking, well, okay, I have it on paper now. Okay, so the results are there. So how can I get a little bit more visibility? And that's exactly what, actually, Marianne is actually my agent. So what she has that I don't have is the connections. When someone in the business community is looking for an athlete for something, they call her, and she has a pool of athletes, and then she does the, okay, this is a good fit for this type of event, or it's connections with the media. She has a lot of connections with media that I don't have, and often enough in the media world, it's pitching. It's pitching the media on an angle. We talked about angles or stories, and that's a little bit why I wanted to get an agent, to just have the ability to have a little bit more of a connection with different different groups that I personally at home on my own couldn't get in touch with. And so that helped me a lot. Yeah, so the agent came along at a good time for me.
Yeah, so I hope everyone kind of gets that idea that, you know, you do need a story, you do need this angle, right? So we've kind of talked about from the agent's standpoint, you know, and there's other ways to raise money, and one of them is through crowdfunding. So why don't we play the video first, and then David will speak a bit about crowdfunding. This is Make a Champ, one of the videos.
My name is Haley Daniels, and I paddle in the sport of whitewater slalom canoeing. My passion is paddling. I have been doing it my whole life, where paddling has been something that's brought my family.
So you understand that now, what she was talking about. But Dave, can you speak maybe what crowdfunding is first, because I don't think maybe everyone knows about it. Talk about your platform and talk about the benefits of it.
All right. Thank you, by the way, Haley, for the video. Sorry, I got cut loose. Yeah.
Ooh, what the hell?
This. All right. Yeah. So crowdfunding for athletes is indeed a relatively new term, and I'm happy to be representing crowdfunding for athletes and Make a Champ here, because in the past we've been talking about sponsorships, and we've been talking about funding from government and traditional fundraising methods. And crowdfunding, the beauty of it is that it takes it up online, where you are not limited by the amount of people that you're able to see and to connect to on a physical basis. And in general, companies, government organizations, they're a handful. While the people online, you could literally reach anybody you want to nowadays. And that is in all thanks to tools such as Twitter, such as Facebook, Instagram, that help you reach those people. So crowdfunding, a crowdfunding platform like Make a Champ will help you create a page such as the one that you saw, and basically reach to your crowd and to convert as many people that are able to see it into direct funding and into direct fans, and to basically giving you the money that you need to continue to your sport, and also to grow your online presence and your fan base. Crowdfunding as a tool, it's not a substitute to funding from government or from sponsorships. It is working hand in hand with those funding opportunities, because it is actually, when you're running a crowdfunding campaign, that is when you have the most amount of people viewing you and viewing your athletic profile. So you want to leverage that, because when you need to reach $2,000 and you have 30 days because you need that money in order to go to World Championships, every single one of your friends is going to be helping you in one way or another.